At an abandoned gas station along a lonely Kentucky highway, a German shepherd named Rocky waits patiently, eyes fixed on the distant horizon, day after day. Nobody knows where he came from or why he never leaves. When Alex, a young journalist searching for hope, uncovers Rocky's heartbreaking secret, he's faced with a tough decision: reunite Rocky with a family who doesn't want him back, or help him find a new life filled with love. But what if Rocky already made his choice? Watch to discover the incredible moment that changes everything. What would you do in Alex's place? Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories. It was an early spring morning in Kentucky, yet winter seemed reluctant to let go of its chilling grasp. A thin mist lingered stubbornly, wrapping itself around the fields and trees like a cold, damp blanket. The air was heavy, carrying the scent of wet earth and forgotten memories along the lonely road that wound through the outskirts of Ashwood, a small town where life flowed slowly, unnoticed by the rest of the world. The faded asphalt road stretched endlessly into the horizon, interrupted only by a decrepit, abandoned gas station nestled at a bend, forgotten by time. There, at the corner of this station, sat Rocky, a German shepherd whose precise age nobody truly knew. Those graying muzzle hinted he was well past his youthful years. Rocky's body was strong and muscular, but his fur, once sleek and vibrant black and tan, had dulled into dusty shades through years spent exposed to harsh elements. His deep brown eyes were his most striking feature, wise, patient, and unbearably sad, always fixed intently upon the road ahead, as if expecting something, or someone, to finally emerge from the distance. No one could recall when Rocky had first appeared. Perhaps it was a year, perhaps 3. He never caused trouble, never barked or whined. He merely sat and waited, ignoring the kindness of passing strangers, accepting only the occasional scraps of food from afar. His loyalty was haunting, silent, and unwavering. About half a mile down the road stood a quaint bakery, a small structure painted soft yellow with white trimming, the kind that spoke of comfort and warmth even from afar. The scent of freshly baked bread often drifted out from its small windows, mingling with the fresh morning air. Its owner, Marlene Anderson, was a woman in her mid-50s, petite and slightly plump, with short, curly silver hair and kind eyes that seemed permanently softened by life's experiences. Marlene had seen much of life's joy and sorrow through the lens of her bakery window, and Rocky's enduring presence had touched her deeply. Every morning, Marlene left small offerings, biscuits, or leftover pastries, near the old gas pumps, quietly hoping Rocky might finally give up his waiting. Yet he never did. On this particular morning, the sleepy routine of the roadside was disrupted by the sputtering sound of a failing engine. A worn-out red sedan, its paint chipped and faded, slowed to a halt just in front of the old gas station, clouds of steam rising from beneath its hood. Alex Porter, a 29-year-old freelance journalist, stepped out from the driver's seat, frustration etched clearly across his lean face. Alex was tall, with slightly tousled dark brown hair that fell carelessly over intense green eyes, always scanning his surroundings as if looking for hidden stories to unfold. His usual calm confidence was today overshadowed by a mixture of fatigue and irritation. Alex was on his way through Kentucky, chasing another obscure lead for a story, when his car had decided otherwise. Cursing under his breath, he lifted the hood, greeted immediately by the acrid smell of burning oil. Mechanical work had never been his strength. Groaning, he slammed the hood shut, resigned to calling for roadside assistance from the isolated stretch of road. That's when he first noticed Rocky. The dog sat near the gas station wall, unmoving, gaze fixed unwaveringly forward. Something about the dog's quiet dignity and unbreakable resolve instantly drew Alex's attention. Intrigued, he stepped closer cautiously. Rocky did not flinch, barely acknowledging Alex's presence. Alex took a careful step nearer. "Hey, buddy, you waiting for someone?" Rocky didn't respond, eyes glued to the distant road. There was a heartbreaking determination in the dog's posture. Alex knelt down, maintaining a respectful distance, and spoke gently again. "All right, I won't disturb you." But maybe you'll tell me your secrets someday, huh? From down the road, Marlene watched the interaction through her bakery window, curious yet cautious. Seeing a stranger attempting to engage Rocky stirred mixed feelings: hope and anxiety, curiosity and protectiveness. She decided it might be best to step out and greet the newcomer herself. Having car trouble? Marlene called as she approached, her voice warm and welcoming. Alex turned quickly, surprised. Marlene's friendly demeanor immediately put him at ease. "Yeah, afraid so," he admitted sheepishly. "Seems I'm stranded for a bit. I'm Alex Porter, by the way." "Marlene Anderson," she responded, shaking his hand warmly. "On the bakery just down there. You're welcome to wait inside. Warmer than out here with your new friend." She nodded toward Rocky. Alex glanced back at the dog, still motionless. "Is he yours?" "Oh no," Marlene smiled gently. "He belongs to no one and everyone. Rocky just showed up one day and never left. Never lets anyone close enough to touch him. Been sitting there, staring down that road for as long as anyone can remember." Alex looked back toward the dog, his curiosity deepening. "Any idea what he's waiting for?" Marlene sighed softly, eyes distant. "I wish I knew. Everyone has their guesses, but no one truly knows his story. Maybe he's waiting for someone who promised they'd come back." Alex was quiet for a moment, absorbing Marlene's words. Something deep within him resonated strongly with Rocky's silent vigil. He himself had spent the past year drifting, haunted by the recent loss of his younger brother, whose sudden death in a traffic accident had ripped apart the foundations of his own life. Perhaps, he thought, Rocky's unyielding weight symbolized something universal, something he had yet to fully understand. "I think I might stay a while," Alex finally announced, surprising even himself. "If it's all right, I'd like to learn more about Rocky." Marlene's eyes twinkled knowingly. "Well, stranger, you're welcome here as long as you like. Rocky has that effect on people. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to finally solve his mystery." Alex smiled lightly, feeling for the first time in months a sense of purpose, a quiet spark reignited by this unusual encounter. Rocky remained oblivious to their conversation, his eyes unwaveringly fixed down the road, forever patient. Overhead, the morning mist slowly began to lift, revealing a pale sun struggling to break through heavy clouds. The distant hum of traffic was faint, intermittent, and each passing vehicle seemed to hold Rocky's unwavering attention, each one a fresh hope, each departure a silent disappointment. Alex watched him thoughtfully, wondering how many dreams, how many lost promises had passed by unnoticed. Marlene broke the thoughtful silence. "You look like someone who's seeking something himself." Alex turned, slightly startled. "What makes you say that?" "Oh, just a hunch," she replied softly, eyes wise with years of observation. "We all wait for something, Alex. Perhaps, through helping Rocky, you'll discover exactly what it is you're looking for yourself." Alex nodded slowly, understanding dawning within him. Perhaps Marlene was right. Perhaps this chance encounter on a forgotten roadside was exactly the clarity he needed. As roadside assistance finally appeared on the horizon, Alex made a silent vow. He would discover Rocky's truth, hoping perhaps it might reveal his own. Rocky remained motionless as always, indifferent to Alex's intentions. And yet, perhaps unknowingly, the steadfast dog had ignited the beginning of a profound journey, one that would lead both of them away from past shadows and toward unexpected redemption. Alex awoke the following morning with a newfound sense of purpose, the promise of answers lingering in his mind. His temporary lodgings, a modest room above Marlene's bakery, were cozy yet unfamiliar, carrying the comforting aroma of freshly baked pastries and warm cinnamon. Outside, sunlight broke through scattered clouds, chasing away the remnants of yesterday's mist and illuminating the quiet streets of Ashwood in gentle gold. After quickly dressing, Alex descended the narrow staircase into the bakery. Marlene was already bustling behind the counter, greeting customers with her signature warmth. Today she wore a soft blue apron, her silver hair neatly combed, eyes sparkling as she chatted amicably with a customer about town news. Spotting Alex, She smiled knowingly and handed him a cup of steaming coffee and a fresh cinnamon roll without a word. Alex took the offerings gratefully and sat near the window, watching Rocky from afar. The German shepherd had already assumed his usual spot, posture unwavering, gaze steady and focused. Curiosity gnawed at Alex. He wondered how long Rocky's heart could endure such silent devotion. Deciding not to waste another moment, Alex waited until the bakery emptied before approaching Marlene at the counter. "Marlene, do you have a moment?" "Always, dear," she responded, wiping her hands on a cloth. "You're still thinking about Rocky, aren't you?" "Yes, I want to find out why he refuses to leave," Alex admitted, his tone thoughtful. "Is there anyone else around who might know his story?" Marlene's expression softened, tinged with sadness. She hesitated briefly before speaking. "You could try talking to old Hank Monroe. He lives a mile down the road in that blue farmhouse. Been here forever. He knows more about Ashwood than anyone else." Intrigued, Alex thanked Marlene and set out down the quiet road toward Hank Monroe's residence. He passed Rocky, nodding respectfully to the vigilant dog. Rocky's ears flicked briefly, acknowledging Alex's presence without turning his head. The farmhouse appeared after a pleasant walk, a sturdy yet weathered structure with chipped blue paint and a welcoming porch scattered with wooden rocking chairs. As Alex approached, he noticed a tall, elderly man tending a small vegetable garden. Hank Monroe was in his 70s, wiry but still upright and vigorous, with neatly trimmed white hair and sharp, intelligent blue eyes. His lined face suggested both wisdom and stubbornness. "Hank Monroe," Alex called politely, approaching slowly. "That's me," Hank replied, straightening up and dusting his hands off. He studied Alex closely. "You're the young fella staying with Marlene, I reckon. What brings you out my way?" Alex explained his purpose, his curiosity about Rocky, and his determination to understand the dog's silent vigil. Hank sighed deeply, setting aside his gardening gloves. "Ah, Rocky. Yes, I know about him. He belonged to the Blake family, lovely folks who used to live just down past the gas station. That was before the fire 3 years back. Awful tragedy." Alex's pulse quickened at the mention of a tragedy. "What happened exactly?" "Faulty wiring," they said. Hank explained quietly, eyes distant. "Fire engulfed the whole house in minutes. Thankfully, no one was badly hurt. Daniel and Laura Blake and their young daughter, Ellie, made it out safe. But their lives were shattered, home lost overnight. They packed up shortly after, moved clear across the state." Alex frowned, considering Rocky's behavior. Did they not look for Rocky? "Oh, they did," Hank assured him solemnly. "Rocky disappeared the night of the fire. We figured he'd perished. Poor Ellie. She cried for weeks, missing that dog something fierce. I guess Rocky found his way back eventually, though too late. That dog probably thinks they'll come back someday, not knowing they've moved on." This revelation tugged painfully at Alex's heart, resonating deeply with his own experience of loss. He thanked Hank and began the slow walk back toward town, consumed by thoughts of the family that had unknowingly left Rocky behind. His mind swirled with emotion, touched profoundly by the dog's unyielding hope. Back in Ashwood, Alex headed straight to the town library, a modest red brick building nestled among aged oak trees. The librarian, Clara Evans, a petite woman in her mid-30s with short blonde hair, bright green eyes, and a cheerful disposition, greeted Alex warmly. Known in town for her kindness and helpfulness, Clara immediately understood Alex's goal. "We have newspaper archives downstairs," Clara suggested gently, leading him to a dimly lit basement. She pulled out several thick binders of local newspapers from 3 years prior. "You might find something here." Alex spent the afternoon combing through old news clippings, documenting the fire. He found a photo of the Blake family. Daniel Blake, a sturdy man with broad shoulders and dark hair. Laura Blake, elegant and slender with soft, curly brown hair. And Ellie, a joyful little girl with bright eyes. Rocky appeared in another photo, proudly posed beside Ellie, his fur sleek, eyes vibrant with happiness. A stark contrast to the dog now waiting endlessly by the roadside. As Alex left the library, heart heavy, he found Marlene standing near the bakery door, watching Rocky thoughtfully. She turned as Alex approached, clearly sensing his unease. "You found out about the Blakes," she stated gently. "Yes," Alex sighed. "But why doesn't Rocky realize they're not coming back? Why stay here?" "Maybe he senses something we don't," Marlene replied softly. "Animals are intuitive. Perhaps there's unfinished business we don't understand." Before Alex could respond, a truck slowed near them, drawing their attention. The driver, Jonah Rivers, climbed out, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his early 40s, with rugged features softened by weary eyes and sandy blonde hair, streaked slightly with gray. Known locally as a trucker passing through regularly, Jonah was reserved but friendly, carrying quiet strength. Jonah greeted Marlene warmly, then glanced toward Rocky with a faint, sad smile. "Still waiting, huh?" "Every day," Marlene replied sympathetically. Turning to Alex, she explained, "Jonah here tried to help Rocky a while back." Jonah nodded solemnly. "I tried getting him into my truck, wanted to give him a home, but Rocky wouldn't budge. He just returned to that spot and kept waiting. He's loyal beyond reason." Alex, deeply moved, asked Jonah, "Do you think Rocky would ever accept another family?" Jonah shrugged slightly. "It'd have to be someone special. Rocky's heart is set on something we can't see." Jonah's words echoed in Alex's thoughts. He watched the trucker return his truck and felt even more determined to help Rocky somehow. Perhaps, he realized, it wasn't about bringing Rocky's old family back, but understanding his devotion and perhaps finding someone capable of helping him move forward. As the sun began its descent, casting elongated shadows across the quiet street, Alex returned to his room above the bakery. Through his window, he saw Rocky still sitting vigilantly at his spot, silhouetted by the fading daylight. Alex knew he couldn't leave Ashwood. Not yet. There was something profound in Rocky's loyalty, a mystery deserving resolution. And perhaps, by helping Rocky, Alex might finally find peace with his own lingering shadows. Days in Ashwood drifted quietly, marked by routines that moved gently like the turning pages of a forgotten storybook. Alex, however, found himself increasingly restless, haunted by the silent vigil of Rocky and the lingering mystery of the Blake family. The longer he stayed, the deeper the unanswered questions etched into his consciousness, resonating uncomfortably with memories he'd long buried. Determined to find answers, Alex decided to revisit the old Blake property, despite Marlene's quiet reservations. The Blakes' former home stood at the edge of town, nestled among thick groves of aged oaks and maples, their twisted limbs stretching protectively over the burnt remains. The ruins of the house emerged like a skeleton from beneath a tangled growth of weeds and charred timber. It was an unsettling sight that whispered tragedy in every broken beam and scorched brick. As Alex stepped through the property's rusted gate, an uneasy sensation rose within him. The crackling of dried leaves beneath his boots reminded him painfully of another autumn afternoon, another place, another lifetime. He shook off the intrusive memory, focusing instead on carefully stepping over the debris, eyes scanning for any forgotten clues that might explain Rocky's steadfast devotion. His search was interrupted by the sudden crunch of footsteps behind him. He turned sharply, startled to find a young woman standing at the edge of the property, cautiously observing him. She was slender, in her late 20s, with long auburn hair spilling loosely over her shoulders. Her eyes, a deep emerald green, held cautious curiosity as she watched Alex closely. "I'm sorry," she called out hesitantly, stepping forward slowly. "I didn't mean to startle you. I'm Ellie Blake." The name struck Alex like a bolt. Ellie Blake, the young girl from the photograph he'd uncovered at the library, now fully grown. Her once joyful eyes were now shadowed by an intangible sadness, matured far beyond her years. "I'm Alex Porter," he introduced himself quickly, sensing her caution. "I've been staying in town, curious about your family's old place. I'm sorry if I was intruding." Ellie shook her head softly, offering a faint, melancholy smile. "No, it's all right. I rarely come back here anymore. It's painful, but every once in a while, I feel the need to return." She approached slowly, surveying the ruined house with an expression heavy with unspoken grief. "It's strange, isn't it? How certain places keep pulling you back. Her words resonated sharply within Alex, dredging up memories he desperately tried to suppress. His younger brother, Sam, with the same adventurous spirit Alex saw now in Ellie. Sam had always been daring, full of life, until a rainy night 5 years ago when his car skidded off a darkened road. Alex hadn't been there, couldn't save him. That guilt lingered, an ache never truly healed. Ellie's soft voice brought him back to the present. You must be the reporter Marlene mentioned. She said you're interested in Rocky. Alex nodded slowly, regaining composure. Yes. Do you know he's been waiting at the old gas station? Ellie's eyes filled suddenly with tears, her voice barely a whisper. Rocky's alive? Her trembling reaction spoke volumes. Alex stepped forward, compelled to reassure her. Yes, he's been waiting all this time, sitting at that old station, day after day. Ellie's expression was a blend of joy and profound sorrow. She brushed tears from her cheeks hastily. I thought we'd lost him forever. We searched everywhere after the fire, but no sign. Eventually, my parents said we needed to move on, start fresh elsewhere. Losing Rocky hurt as much as losing the house, maybe more. Alex listened intently, understanding deeply the complexity of such loss. Why haven't you ever returned to claim him? Ellie looked away, clearly wrestling with guilt. We thought he'd perished. Returning to this town, to this house, always felt impossible, too painful. I've been trying to move forward, but part of me has remained stuck here among these ruins. Ellie's words were a mirror to Alex's own heart. The profound grief in her eyes, the struggle to reconcile the past with the present. Alex felt every ounce of it. A silence fell between them, heavy with unspoken understanding. After a moment, Ellie took a deep breath and asked, her voice hesitant, "Will you show him to me? I'd like to see Rocky, even if he doesn't remember." Of course, Alex replied gently. Together they walked quietly back toward town, each lost in private contemplation. For Alex, Ellie's sudden appearance, the weight of her loss, had unearthed buried memories he'd worked so hard to hide. His brother Sam's laughter echoed hauntingly in his ears, each step bringing the memories closer. When they reached the gas station, Rocky was still there, exactly as before, eyes fixed on the empty road. Ellie stopped abruptly, emotions swelling visibly within her. Alex watched carefully as she cautiously approached the dog. "Rocky," Ellie called softly, her voice trembling slightly. Rocky's ears perked briefly, head turning slightly in her direction. Their eyes met, and for one heart-stopping moment, recognition flickered within Rocky's deep gaze. But almost immediately, he returned his stare to the empty highway, his expression unchanged. Ellie's shoulders slumped in quiet despair. Alex gently touched her shoulder. "He remembers. I'm sure of it." She nodded faintly, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. "Maybe. But even so, he's still waiting for someone who isn't coming back." Alex considered her words carefully. They echoed his own inner turmoil, his guilt over Sam's death. His sense of helplessness mirrored Rocky's relentless vigil. Ellie had inadvertently shown him a reflection of his own inner battles. "Ellie, maybe what Rocky needs isn't the past, but permission to move forward," Alex suggested quietly, speaking as much to himself as to her. "Perhaps we all do." Ellie turned to him, her eyes wide with surprise, realization slowly dawning within her. "Maybe you're right. Rocky isn't the only one stuck here. I've been trying to ignore my own grief, pretending everything's fine. It isn't." The sound of a vehicle pulling up drew their attention. Jonah Rivers' truck stopped nearby, and Jonah stepped out, studying them thoughtfully. "Everything okay?" Alex nodded reassuringly. "Jonah, this is Ellie Blake. Rocky was her family's dog." Recognition dawned quickly in Jonah's steady eyes. "It's an honor to finally meet you. That dog's been waiting patiently." Ellie smiled sadly. "I know now. Maybe it's finally time we helped him." Jonah's expression grew thoughtful. "I tried before, but he refused. Maybe with your help, he'll find closure." Ellie nodded, her resolve strengthening visibly. "Yes, maybe together we can all move past this." Alex quietly marveled at the scene unfolding before him. Rocky's silent vigil had become a catalyst for each of them to confront their buried pain. He glanced again at the German shepherd, still unmoving yet profoundly affecting their lives. Rocky's endurance had sparked a fragile but tangible hope within each of them, a promise of healing and release from the darkness they'd individually endured. As evening descended over Ashwood, Alex knew the journey toward healing was only beginning. But now, for the first time, the path forward felt illuminated by mutual understanding and newfound courage. Rocky's quiet strength guiding them toward liberation from the shadows of the past. The setting sun painted Ashwood in soft hues of amber and lavender, casting long shadows across the quiet town. The gas station where Rocky kept his ceaseless vigil was bathed in a golden glow, its rusted walls briefly transformed into something almost beautiful. Standing beside Ellie, watching Rocky's unwavering stare fixed on the horizon, Alex felt the complexity of their intertwined grief more deeply than ever. Jonah Rivers, who had lingered quietly nearby, broke the silence with his steady, gravelly voice. He's still hoping. Dogs like Rocky, they hold on to hope longer than we humans ever could. Alex turned toward Jonah, curiosity stirring within him. Jonah Rivers was a man whose past felt concealed beneath layers of quiet strength and unspoken sorrow. Tall and broad-shouldered, Jonah had an unmistakable presence. His sandy blonde hair, flecked lightly with gray, framed a rugged face weathered by years spent traveling countless roads. Though rarely speaking more than necessary, his calm eyes hinted at depths Alex longed to explore. "Have you ever seen this kind of loyalty before?" Alex asked Jonah quietly. Jonah's gaze softened slightly, his eyes becoming distant, thoughtful. "Once," he admitted, "but it wasn't a dog." Sensing a story, Alex waited patiently. Jonah sighed softly, leaning back against his truck, folding strong arms across his chest. "Years ago, I had a daughter named Sophie. Bright girl, smart beyond her years, stubborn too, just like her mother. We lived a simple life back then, out west in Montana. But after her mother passed suddenly, Sophie and we couldn't find our way back to each other. Grief drove us apart." Alex watched as Jonah's composed facade slipped, revealing a glimpse of a pain deeply embedded. Jonah continued, his voice thick with regret. "Sophie blamed me for not saving her mother. I blamed myself too. Eventually, arguments turned into silence. She left home at 17. Last time I saw her was 10 years ago. She climbed into a friend's car, determined to build a life away from me. I haven't seen or heard from her since." Ellie stood silently beside Alex, tears shimmering in her eyes. Alex could sense her empathy toward Jonah's pain, mirroring their own silent wounds. Jonah paused, glancing toward Rocky, who remained motionless, vigilant as ever. "I drove all around this country trying to forget," Jonah confessed softly. "Each road was supposed to lead me further from my mistakes. But every night, I'd wake up hoping Sophie would find me again. A father's hope never fades. Rocky reminds me of myself, waiting for someone who might never come back, yet unable to stop hoping." Alex felt Jonah's words resonate deeply. Rocky's vigil mirrored not only Ellie's lost childhood and Jonah's estranged relationship with his daughter, but also his own unresolved guilt about losing Sam. Their individual grief had woven an invisible thread, binding each of them through the silent loyalty of a dog who refused to give up. Ellie approached Jonah gently, placing a comforting hand on his arm. "I think Rocky understands something we're all struggling with. Maybe he senses that closure doesn't always mean forgetting, but accepting." Jonah nodded slowly, acknowledging her words. "You're right. Acceptance is the hardest road to travel, especially alone." A sudden noise from the gas station drew their attention. Marlene Anderson approached, waving softly. She brought with her a small plastic bowl filled with fresh water, placing it quietly near Rocky without disturbing him. Marlene's presence was warm and reassuring. Her simple, compassionate gestures often spoke louder than words ever could. She glanced at Jonah and Ellie knowingly, her kind eyes filled with gentle wisdom. Rocky has already brought you all together, hasn't he? His loyalty is teaching us something important, even if we can't fully grasp it yet. As twilight settled around them, Marlene returned quietly toward her bakery, leaving Alex, Ellie, and Jonah alone with their thoughts. Rocky's silhouette remained unchanged, stoic and patient. The three of them lingered silently, each lost in reflection. Eventually, Jonah broke the quiet once more. Ellie, your family. They loved Rocky deeply, didn't they? Ellie nodded slowly, her voice trembling slightly. Yes, especially my father. Rocky was like family. But after the fire, he became a painful reminder of what we'd lost. I think my parents believed moving away was the only way to escape the grief. But Rocky never gave up on us. Jonah placed a hand on Ellie's shoulder gently. Then perhaps it's time your family knows he never stopped believing in them. Sometimes, knowing someone else hasn't given up is enough to find your own way back. Ellie's expression softened, understanding dawning within her eyes. Alex watched, moved deeply by Jonah's quiet wisdom. He realized clearly in that moment that Jonah's unresolved longing for Sophie wasn't weakness. It was strength. Strength to endure, to hope, and to wait. I'll talk to my parents, Ellie said resolutely. Even if it's painful, they need to know Rocky is still waiting. Maybe it's a closure we all need. Jonah smiled faintly, his eyes holding a warmth rarely seen. You're stronger than you realize. Remember, facing pain head-on is how you find peace. Alex silently admired the courage both Ellie and Jonah displayed. Their willingness to confront their painful past had ignited a spark within him as well. It was clear Rocky's story was far more than just about loyalty. It was about resilience, the strength found in vulnerability, and the bonds formed through shared grief. As Jonah turned toward his truck, he paused briefly, glancing back toward Alex. Don't let fear of the past stop you either, Alex. Whatever you're holding on to, maybe it's time you let it go. Take it from someone who knows. Alex nodded slowly, absorbing Jonah's advice deeply. Watching Jonah climb into his truck and drive away, Alex knew Jonah's invisible thread of hope would someday reconnect him with his daughter. Until then, Jonah had offered invaluable wisdom, quietly urging them all forward. Ellie remained thoughtfully beside Alex, eyes fixed on Rocky. The evening air had grown chilly, but neither moved to leave. Rocky's presence had become a silent beacon, guiding them slowly toward acceptance. Alex finally spoke, his voice gentle yet firm. Maybe Jonah's right. We can't keep running from our past. We owe it to Rocky and ourselves to confront it fully. Ellie smiled softly, eyes glistening with tears of understanding. Yes, maybe Rocky's loyalty is teaching us exactly that. Night fell softly over Ashwood, blanketing the town in quiet darkness. Rocky remained seated, his faith unwavering, his presence an enduring reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope and loyalty persisted. Alex and Ellie stood quietly for a moment longer before finally turning toward home, each carrying Jonah's wisdom within their hearts. Unbeknownst to them, Jonah drove quietly through the night, heading west once more. His thoughts lingered on his daughter Sophie, hoping the invisible thread binding him to her might someday draw them together again. For now, he would wait, just like Rocky, never letting go of hope. Days turned into weeks as Ashwood quietly braced itself against the shifting seasons. The warm hues of autumn had settled gently across the sleepy town, blanketing it in deep reds and rustic golds. Yet despite the peaceful outward appearance, an inner storm brewed steadily within Alex. The more he unraveled Rocky's story, the more uncertain he became about how to move forward. A choice loomed heavily on the horizon, waiting impatiently for resolution. After numerous phone calls and extensive searches online, Alex had finally located the Blake family, now living in a quaint suburban neighborhood on the outskirts of Nashville, hundreds of miles away from Ashwood. After lengthy deliberation, Alex had driven through the night, arriving at the Blakes' new residence early in the morning, nerves tightening within him like a coil. Daniel Blake answered the door, a sturdy, solemn man in his early 50s, his once dark hair now peppered generously with silver. His broad shoulders hinted at strength, but Alex noticed the subtle droop suggesting burdens he still silently carried. Daniel greeted Alex cautiously but politely, inviting him inside after hearing his reason for coming. Laura Blake joined them shortly after, tall, elegant, her soft brown curls now streaked with gentle hints of gray, her blue eyes revealing a hidden sadness beneath the warmth of her welcome. The Blakes' living room was neat and comfortable, decorated modestly, filled with family photographs showing happier moments. Yet the absence of Rocky from these images felt like a painful gap Alex could sense immediately. Alex cleared his throat nervously, aware of the weight his news carried. "I came because I found Rocky. He's alive, waiting near your old property at the gas station. He's been there every day for 3 years." Laura gasped softly, covering her mouth with shaking hands, tears immediately filling her eyes. Daniel stiffened visibly, his face paling beneath a mask of carefully maintained control. "We thought he died," Laura whispered painfully. "We searched everywhere." "Oh God, he's still there." Alex nodded solemnly. "Yes, every single day. He hasn't forgotten you." Laura glanced pleadingly toward Daniel, but he remained silent, jaw tight. Finally, Daniel spoke, his voice strained. "I'm sorry, Alex, but we can't take Rocky back." Laura's eyes widened, stunned, turning toward her husband. "Daniel, please." He held up a weary hand, silencing her gently. "Seeing Rocky again, it would only open old wounds. We've spent years trying to heal, try to leave that fire behind. Bringing him here, it would mean reliving everything again." Laura looked away tearfully, nodding slowly, resignation settling heavily over her. Alex felt his chest tighten, the room suffocating with the weight of their shared grief. "What about Ellie?" Alex asked cautiously. "I spoke to her back in Ashwood. She seemed ready to face this." Daniel's shoulders slumped further, shaking his head slightly. "Ellie's strong, but this family barely held together after the fire. We nearly lost everything. Rocky was the heart of our home, but now he's a painful reminder." "I'm sorry." Alex understood deeply Daniel's dilemma. Grief could linger as an open wound, its healing fragile and precarious. Yet the knowledge of Rocky's unending vigil tugged fiercely at his heart, complicating his choice profoundly. Returning to Ashwood later that evening, Alex's mind churned restlessly. The question plagued him mercilessly. Should he shield Rocky from painful rejection, preserving hope through silence, or confront him with the painful truth, offering closure even at the risk of shattering his world? He drove slowly toward the gas station, heart heavy with indecision. As he approached, he noticed Rocky's silhouette against the dying sunlight, quiet, resolute, ever patient. Alex's internal storm grew more intense, his conscience battered by indecision. As he parked, he noticed Ellie approaching from the shadows. She had remained in Ashwood after their encounter, unable yet unwilling to leave without resolution. Her presence was quiet and comforting, yet her eyes held a storm that matched his own internal turmoil. "I spoke to your parents," Alex began quietly. "They don't think they can take Rocky back." Ellie nodded slowly, sadness but not surprise filling her eyes. "I thought they might say that. I understand why. It doesn't make it easier, but I get it." Alex glanced at Rocky once more, voice shaking slightly. "What do we do now?" Ellie stepped closer, speaking gently yet firmly. "Rocky deserves to know, Alex. It isn't fair to keep him waiting for something that won't happen. He deserves peace just as much as my parents do." Alex looked into Ellie's determined eyes, feeling his own resistance crumble beneath the weight of her words. She was right. Rocky had carried hope for far too long. Perhaps honesty, however painful, was the kindness he truly deserved. "All right," Alex agreed softly, bracing himself. Together, they approached Rocky, who turned toward them slowly, sensing the significance of their presence. Ellie knelt beside him gently, reaching out carefully to stroke his dusty fur. "Rocky," Ellie whispered tenderly, tears falling quietly down her cheeks. They aren't coming back, boy. They're safe, but they're far away now. They still love you deeply, but they can't return. I'm sorry. Rocky's ears flicked, eyes searching Ellie's face deeply. Slowly, heavily, the dog's gaze lowered, his body seeming to deflate slightly as though finally accepting the reality he'd denied for so long. Alex felt tears rise sharply, throat tightening painfully as he witnessed Rocky's silent acceptance. Ellie's fingers trembled slightly as she continued softly, "You've been so brave, Rocky. Now it's time to rest. You're not alone anymore." Rocky leaned gently into her touch, his silent grief palpable. Yet despite the sadness, Alex sensed relief within Rocky's gentle surrender. Closure, painful yet necessary. Later, after Rocky had curled up near Ellie's feet, finally permitting himself rest, Alex lingered quietly beside Ellie beneath the stars, both of them processing the emotional catharsis they'd just shared. "I wonder if Rocky understood everything we said," Ellie murmured softly, eyes fixed skyward. "I think he did," Alex replied gently. "Animals sense more than we realize. Maybe he knew all along, but needed permission to let go." Ellie nodded thoughtfully, her voice barely a whisper. "Maybe we all did." Across town, Marlene stood quietly in her bakery window, watching silently as Jonah River's truck pulled once more into Ashwood, headlights briefly illuminating the gas station before parking near Marlene's shop. Jonah stepped out wearily, stretching tired muscles. Marlene greeted him warmly at the door, her eyes reflecting quiet empathy. "I heard from Alex," Jonah admitted softly. "It's finally done. Rocky knows." Marlene's expression softened, her voice filled with understanding. "Sometimes closure hurts deeply, but it's the first step toward healing." Jonah nodded slowly, eyes distant. "Maybe it's time for me too." That night, Ashwood fell peacefully silent, bathed gently in moonlight, finally allowing space for healing to begin. Alex, Ellie, Jonah, and even Rocky had faced the truth, painful yet necessary, and found strength in acceptance. The internal storm had finally passed, leaving calmness behind. And beneath the stars, they all began to breathe a little easier, bound quietly by hope and the courage to move forward. Morning arrived quietly over Ashwood, the pale sun casting gentle warmth across the countryside. The chill of early autumn lingered slightly, whispering through trees and brushing softly against the old gas station. The air carried the subtle scent of dew and fallen leaves, offering a fresh start to a day unlike any other. Alex stood silently beside Rocky, absorbing the stillness. It was time to free Rocky from the endless cycle of waiting and offer him the peace he'd earned after years of unwavering devotion. The decision hadn't come easily. Alex spent hours contemplating how best to provide closure for Rocky, aware that simply breaking the news wasn't enough. Rocky needed a new beginning. It was then he remembered Jonah Rivers, the wandering truck driver whose story had resonated deeply with him. Jonah, whose profound loss and quiet dignity mirrored Rocky's own patient suffering. Alex knew Jonah could understand Rocky's heart better than anyone else. Alex had called Jonah late the previous evening, asking him to return. Without hesitation, Jonah agreed, driving overnight, returning to Ashwood at sunrise. Now, as Jonah's familiar truck pulled slowly into the gas station lot, Rocky lifted his head, ears perked with gentle curiosity. Jonah stepped from his truck slowly, stretching tired muscles, his strong shoulders easing beneath the morning sunlight. His sandy blonde hair shone softly, silver threads catching the dawn glow. A quiet strength radiated from him, calm and reassuring. Approaching carefully, Jonah offered Rocky a gentle smile. "Hey there, old friend," Jonah spoke softly, kneeling slowly, extending a patient hand. Rocky hesitated briefly, eyes locked onto Jonah's calm gaze. After a silent pause, Rocky moved forward cautiously, sniffing Jonah's outstretched fingers carefully, recognition flickering briefly in his expressive eyes. Alex watched silently, heart tightening slightly with hope and relief. "He remembers you," Alex whispered gently, almost to himself. Jonah nodded slowly, his expression serene yet poignant. I reckon he understands better than we do. Sometimes we're not waiting for the past. We're waiting for the courage to embrace something new. Rocky stepped closer, finally allowing Jonah's fingers to gently brush his fur. A visible tension melted from Rocky's body, replaced by hesitant acceptance. Jonah smiled quietly, his eyes warm. You're safe now, Rocky. We'll start fresh together. Nearby, Ellie stood quietly, watching the tender exchange unfold, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. She understood profoundly what this meant. Rocky's release symbolized her own need for healing. She stepped forward gently, kneeling beside Rocky and Jonah. "Thank you, Jonah," Ellie whispered softly, her voice breaking slightly. "You're giving Rocky and all of us a chance to heal." Jonah offered Ellie a comforting nod, empathy deep in his eyes. "It's a chance we all deserve." In the background, Marlene approached quietly from her bakery, carrying a small bag containing treats she'd baked fresh that morning. Her usually cheerful eyes were tender and solemn, reflecting the bittersweet nature of the moment. "Something special for the road," she said softly, handing the bag to Jonah. "You two take care of each other." Jonah accepted the bag graciously, his smile gentle and appreciative. "We will, Marlene. Thank you for everything." Marlene stepped back quietly, eyes glistening with emotion. "Be gentle with each other. Healing takes time." Jonah nodded respectfully, carefully opening the truck door. Rocky hesitated only briefly, his eyes lingering briefly on Alex and Ellie as if seeking permission. Alex knelt slowly, offering Rocky gentle reassurance. "It's all right, Rocky. You're free now. Go and find your peace." Rocky's gaze softened, understanding evident in his deep, intelligent eyes. Slowly, he climbed into Jonah's truck, settling quietly beside Jonah's seat. For the first time in years, Rocky's posture relaxed completely, no longer tense with waiting or uncertainty. He seemed younger, lighter somehow, finally at ease. Ellie stood beside Alex, their shoulders brushing gently, each silently acknowledging the profound moment. Jonah turned toward them one last time, gratitude and quiet strength radiating from him. "Thank you both. I promise Rocky will have the home he deserves." Alex felt warmth spread within him, relief and peace washing away lingering doubts. As Jonah's truck rumbled quietly to life, Ellie reached out, squeezing Alex's hand gently. He squeezed back, comforted by the shared understanding. As Jonah drove away, Rocky turned his head, eyes no longer fixed backward in longing. Instead, he faced forward confidently, gaze steady on the road ahead, no longer haunted by past shadows, but brightened by the promise of new beginnings. Alex and Ellie stood quietly, watching until the truck disappeared from sight. Marlene approached slowly, placing a comforting arm around Ellie's shoulders. Ellie leaned gratefully into her warmth, sighing softly. "It's strange," Ellie murmured softly. "I thought this moment would hurt more, but I feel relief. Like Rocky finally set us all free." Marlene smiled gently, eyes wise with empathy. "That's exactly what he did, Ellie. His loyalty taught us strength, but his release teaches us freedom." Ellie nodded. Silent gratitude cleared her eyes. Alex glanced toward the empty road thoughtfully, feeling a similar weight lifted from him. His own loss, his brother Sam, had lingered painfully, much like Rocky's relentless weight. Now, seeing Rocky choose to move forward, Alex felt a newfound courage awakening within him. Perhaps he, too, could finally release the guilt and grief he'd carried too long. Later, as Alex packed his belongings, preparing to leave Ashwood, Marlene approached him quietly, offering a small package, homemade pastries wrapped carefully. "Something for your journey ahead," she explained softly, eyes warm. "Don't forget Ashwood, or the lessons we've all learned here." Alex smiled gently, accepting her gift gratefully. "I couldn't if I tried." Ellie appeared moments later, eyes shining softly as she hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Alex, for everything. Alex squeezed her gently, emotion filling his chest. You help me just as much. Maybe someday we'll all find our paths crossing again. Ellie stepped back slowly, eyes reflecting warmth and quiet understanding. I like that very much. Alex climbed slowly into his repaired car, glancing one final time toward the empty spot where Rocky had waited faithfully for years. Now, only gentle sunlight remained, illuminating the quiet space where devotion once lingered. Driving slowly away from Ashwood, Alex felt lighter, freer than he'd known in years. Rocky's unwavering loyalty had transformed into a powerful lesson, one of acceptance, courage, and healing. Jonah had found renewed purpose. Ellie had rediscovered strength. And Alex himself finally understood that facing the past was the truest form of liberation. As miles stretched ahead beneath gentle sunlight, Alex smiled quietly. Behind him lay lessons learned in silence, waiting, and hope. Ahead, a new journey awaited, one he was finally ready to embrace. And somewhere far along the open road, he knew Rocky and Jonah were beginning their own journey, their eyes no longer clouded by past grief, but focused clearly on the bright horizon ahead. The story of Rocky reminds us of an important truth about life. Sometimes the greatest strength is found in letting go. Like Rocky, many of us hold on to memories, hopes, or pain from the past, not realizing these very things can prevent us from embracing the future. Life, however, gently teaches us that healing begins when we find the courage to move forward, accepting the past, while making space in our hearts for new beginnings. Have you ever had a rocky moment in your life, a time when letting go brought you unexpected peace? Please share your story in the comments below. Your words might just become a gentle encouragement for someone else facing similar challenges. If Rocky's journey touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more inspiring stories. May God bless you, heal you, and guide you on your journey ahead. If you believe in the healing power of hope and acceptance, type Amen in the comments.